Hi, my name is Angela Hillebrand, and I am doing a presentation on special education law. The history of special education is very important. Special education was designed to meet the needs of the learning disabled. The process started to end the mistreatment and abuse of students with special needs and has evolved over time. It did not begin to gain national attention until the early 20s. Several important dates to remember. In 1922, the Council for Exceptional Children was formed. The group's main objective is to make sure that students with exceptionalities receive a free, appropriate public education. In 1931, the Bradley House opened its doors. It became the first psychiatric children's hospital in the United States. The focus was on psychodynamic, which diagnosed and classified of disabilities. In 1933, a parental group was formed called the Cayuga Council for Retarded Citizens. This was a parental advocacy group that protested their children's expulsion from a public school in Ohio. This protest led to special classes for students with disabilities. In 1950, the National Association for Retarded Citizens was formed. This group will become crucial to the fair treatment of students with exceptionalities. In 1965, the Elementary and Secondary Education Act made it possible for state schools and institutions to receive grants for special education. In 1973, the Rehabilitation Act is formed, and Section 504 states that no person will be discriminated against because of a disability. In 1975, the Education for All Handicapped Children Act is passed and states that all students with disabilities are educated in the public school system. This provides free education, special education services, supplemental services, due process, in the least restrictive environment. The least restrictive environment is established. This states that all students with disabilities be placed in the general education classes as much as possible to provide social interaction with their peers. In 1986, the Handicapped Children Protection Act was signed into law by President Reagan, and this act provided parents more of a say in the identification process and their placement. In 1990, the Americans with Disability Act was signed into law by President George W. Bush. This act provided equal rights to students with disabilities. This act protected students and adults in both school and work environments. In 1990, IDEA was signed into law by George W. Bush. This act is very extensive and includes the least restrictive environment, free appropriate public education, individual education plans, evaluations, student and parent participation, and procedures for all participants. In 2004, IDEA reauthorization. This made changes to the original IDEA to include the IEP, due process, and student discipline. There are two major court cases that supported equal rights for students with exceptionalities. In 1954, Brown versus the Board of Education, landmark case that focused on separate is not equal. This granted African American students equal education opportunities. This case empowered parents of students with disabilities. In 1982, Board of Education of Hendricks-Hudson Central School District versus Rowley. This was the first special education case decided by the Supreme Court. This case stated that an IEP must be written to benefit the student's educational needs. However, it did state that the school district is not required to provide every service. There are several parental resources that we could use. For questions and information about students and parental rights, please visit the Ohio Department of Education's website, where you will find resources for learning standards accommodations and services provided. You can also access the National PTA website, and it has links to useful information for elementary students all the way through college. Parents can access almost anything from this website. It is called the Special Education Toolkit, and it has links for audiobooks, IDEA policies and procedures, special sites for special education categories, and national organizations that will support you on your journey. One other useful resource is Understood. It is also a helpful resource and can answer many questions parents have about the student identification and qualifications. Thank you for your time.